Let's return to that bridge. You know that bridge that Denise talked about in Act 1, that people got to the bridge and they were turned back by armed police officers? What exactly happened on that bridge? We wondered about that, and so we returned to that bridge. People in this story were in New Orleans for a paramedics convention. They're out-of-towners. They were staying in a hotel in the French Quarter. And as the storm approached, there were no flights out of the city. There were no rental cars available. And so they stayed in their hotel. Luckily, their hotel let them stay. No electricity, eating boxed cereal, canned soup, whatever they had there in the hotel. And then 3 days after Katrina hit, one of the hotel managers actually decided to take matters into his own hands and took up a collection from his guests to raise $25,000 to charter a bunch of private buses to get these people out. And so all that day, guests were getting reports, the buses are coming, and all these reports, and they were told to line up and wait for the buses. And then, like 5 or 6 hours after they were told to line up and wait, around midnight, they heard word that, nope, the bus has been commandeered by the military as they entered the city. Okay, so the next morning, the hotel's out of food, they're out of water. They basically said, everybody, you gotta go now. Lori Beth Zelinsky and her husband, Larry Bradshaw, they're both paramedics from San Francisco. They set off with about 200 other hotel guests that morning for the command center that the police had set up down the street at Harrah's Casino. So they go there and they ask the police, what should they do now? Lori Beth talked to producer Alex Blumberg.
You know, they said, you can't go to the Superdome. You cannot go to the convention center. We said, where can we go? They said, we don't know. You are on your own. Mm-hmm. And that's where we decided, let's camp in front of the police command center in front of Harrods. There would be protection. We'd have each other until the next day. Then the police command center realized they had an issue on their hand. They have 200 tourists in front of their command center. Mm-hmm. So he said, wait, I just heard word. If you cross the bridge, there are buses. And a big cheer went up. But Larry, being the realist that he is, said, wait a minute. We have been lied to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Today is Thursday. We really would like some guarantee that this is true. And he looked us in the eye and said, I swear to you, there are buses on the bridge. I just got word.
Now, where is the bridge at this point from where you're standing?
It's 2 miles through town. It's called the Pontchartrain Expressway.
Okay.
So the 200 of us little tourist types with our pull-along baggage made our way through the rainy weather.
And you're all carrying your pull-along baggage?
I'm still carrying my pull-along baggage with our laptop and our little Palm Pilot and our little extra food and everything. Uh-huh. So we are going through town, and people saw us and thought, here come some folks. They must know something. So our numbers doubled from probably 200, and then it doubled again. So we were probably about 800 to 1,000 people marching up to the bridge. When we got to the bridge, there was the armed Gretna sheriffs, and they had formed a line at the foot of the bridge. Uh-huh. So even before we could even explain what we wanted or what we had heard, that's when they began firing the weapons. Gretna police shot at us and said us, get away. You cannot come on the bridge.
This bridge goes across the Mississippi River to a town called Gretna in neighboring Jefferson Parish. The entire region across the river is called the West Bank. Debbie Zelinsky, a 24-year-old sales agent from Boston, was another guest at the Monteleone. She'd been on vacation in New Orleans with a group of 5, her friends Sharon and Rashida, Rashida's mother and 13-year-old brother, and Rashida's brother's 15-year-old friend.
The cops were just firing into the air to get people back. They had guns pointed in people's faces, telling them to get back down or they will shoot you.
And what was your thinking at that moment? What did you make of that? What were you thinking?
At that point, it was pouring rain. We were soaked through. I thought, I'm never getting out of here. If I am getting out of here, it's not going to be alive. Tears started rolling down my face at that point.
And how did it just sounds so crazy to me that there's like a bunch of tired people trying to walk out of a city and people are shooting at that. Did it just seem insane to you, or what I mean?
It did. I mean, here you have a 6-lane highway bridge, and there's barely any traffic going out, and you won't let pedestrians cross it? Why?
What did I really think, or do you want... Okay.
Yeah, what did you really think?
what I thought was, are they serious? They must be mistaken. They could not be shooting at a group of desperate ass people. But apparently they were serious. But we were so desperate. We got to get out of here. This is our only way out. We can't go to the Superdome. We can't go to the convention center. We were scared to death of for our lives and for the people around us lives, that we had to approach them. So my partner, Larry, had his badge with him, his fire department badge. So he would raise it up, lay it on the ground, put our hands up, and walk backwards and say, "May we approach?" Mm-hmm. And when we approached and had them in conversation, the sheriff informed us, said there were no buses, that the police commander had lied to us. And when Larry questioned, it's like, can we just ask you why we can't cross the bridge? Because there was no traffic. There was very little traffic on the 6-lane highway. And they said that you are not crossing this bridge. We are not turning the West Bank into another Superdome. And to us, when they said that, was absolutely, these were code words for, if you're poor and you're black, you are not getting out of New Orleans. You are not coming to our territory.
It does seem hard to avoid sort of talking about race here.
Yes. We're white, and everybody else, most every other person was African American. And that is what they saw. And that is what they were responding to, that this group of people of color were not going to come into their neighborhoods.
Lori Beth is kind of a take-charge person from what we saw, and we were like, well, we need to stick with someone. We don't know our way, what we're going to do. So we decided, hey, we're sticking with you. We're not leaving you. And glad we didn't.
Our small group of 8, and then other folks as well, we retreated back down Highway 90, and we were trying to find some shelter in the overpass. And then we had these discussions, God, what are we going to do? And what we decided to do was, there was this concrete embankment. If you go on to the middle of Pontchartrain Expressway, there's a center divide. But with the center divide, there was 2 hunks of concrete that sort of make a nice enclave. And we thought, this will be perfect. It's safe and will be visible to everyone. And certainly someone's going to come rescue us, and that we'll have security by being on this elevated freeway. And then we could wait for these buses that were certainly going to come get us. This group turned into about 60 or 70 people. Mm-hmm. And we cleaned up the area so it was safe for the children, and someone had a bag, and we cleaned that up, and I said I had water, and someone else had water, and we, kind of made like this community. And this is when somebody, blessed are the people who loot, got a huge water truck they had stolen, and he had a man and his wife and child, and they were African American, and they unloaded all the water that they had.
So wait, so a guy just came up to you?
A guy was escaping New Orleans, and that's what it felt like. People were escaping New Orleans, and he drove up to the middle road in the middle of this Pontchartrain Expressway, drove right up to our encampment, because he saw like 70, 80, 90 people, and he just took all the water out and gave it to us, and then filled the truck up back with human beings. As many older and children that we could get on with their parents onto this, and they drove away. And that is how we got water.
And what did he say to you? That's incredible.
Good
luck,
did he say? Good luck, brothers and sisters. Good luck. We wish you the best. We can only take what we can take. And we, thanked them, and off they go with the families. And then up the street quite a way, there is an armed and National Guard truck that apparently took too sharp of a turn, and you can just see the food fall out of the sea rations fall out of this truck. So, it just felt like it was phenomenal. We commandeered a couple of the strong young guys and gals to run up there in the shopping carts that people had and gather up the boxes of food and bring it back.
You got to do something. You got no more food.
So
you're set. You have
were
food.
Set.
You have water.
We were set. We had food. We had water. We had some sort of shelter. We had a safe place for the kids. And then the kids took the plastic that the water was in, those big plastic containers that hold 5-gallon drums of water, and brought it over to like a storm drain and set it up to make bathroom with privacy. And we took one of the 5-gallon containers of water, and the kids made a sign, because we still had luggage at this point and crayons and things, and made a sign, please keep the bathroom clean. And we had toilet paper and handy wipes.
So you'd started with like a group of 8, and then it grew to like 70. And these were, who were some of the stories of the people who were in this little encampment with you?
Well, there was this older woman who was diabetic and had soiled herself, but people came forward with, like a makeshift Depends diaper type thing. And then there was like just the cutest ding-dang kids that would call me auntie, and they would be, auntie wants the coffee, and they were very strict about the garbage, because we hung garbage bags on the rebar. So we were set up brilliantly until just as it started to turn dark. A Gretna sheriff came up and just had that crazy look that, as a paramedic, when I see that crazy look, you just find a way to not come in front of that energy, because he had a gun and he was pointing and screaming at us, get the f*** off this freeway, get the f*** off this freeway, like the most insane, crazed, frightened person ever. And we had to leave this place of safety, and went into the dark. And it was martial law by this point, and we had heard it was a shoot-to-kill policy.
So everyone grabbed what they could, and we didn't know where we were going. As we were walking, we turned back and looked, and then you saw a helicopter come very close, and everything that we had in there actually went flying as the helicopter's wind took off.
So like a police helicopter literally came down to where your camp had been and blew everything away?
Right.
And you think that was on purpose?
Oh, yeah. So we walked down the bridge off the highway, and we actually found a bus, an abandoned bus. We had to actually boost someone into a window because the door was locked, and he unlocked the door from the inside. We all got in. It was right at dark. It was becoming dark outside. We all were told to lay down on the seats and do not lift your head for anything.
Who told you that?
My friend's mom.
Okay.
She's like, don't sit up, don't lift your head. I don't care what you hear.
What was the fear?
The fear was you could hear gunshots getting closer. You could hear people walking. It was a fear of the gunshots. It was also a fear of the police. We were afraid they'd come. They would probably kick us out. And we didn't want to be out when it was dark out. You could hear I don't know if they were rats, if what they were, but they were outside, and you could hear them. I think I maybe slept 5 or 10 minutes. The minute the sun came up, we were out of there. We left the bus. We left a note in the bus saying thank you, we're sorry, and we left. We went up to the bridge to see if they'd let us cross.
Larry had contacted the president of our union and said, "Okay, we are at the fire department." John Meade, and said, "Okay, John, honest to God, it is now dire. We need to get out." And somehow John, through the other union, through a guy who works at Menlo Park who was working for FEMA, somehow one of those connections happened that the FEMA person got to tell the Gretna police or sheriff to, yes, let us 8 people go through. And it was so early in the morning, but we could see the people starting to come up because people were trying to still get out. And as people were coming up, one of the sheriffs walked down the ramp a bit and shot up past some people and said, "Do not approach." We got past that. We got the permission. We walked across the bridge.
That must have been a very. I mean, on the one hand, you must have been thrilled to be getting out, but was it
very
a little hard? Yeah?
Very demoralized, very sad, very unfair. It's really wrong. This makes no sense. All of us should be walking across that bridge, and it's only by this connection, that connection, and that we were able to get across. How did I feel? I felt really incensed and anger that other people weren't allowed to pass. And at the same time, I felt so fortunate and absolutely like I won the lottery that us 8 were able to cross.
There was one more hurdle, actually. In the group of 8, 3 were white, 4 were black, Sharon, Rashida, and her mother and brother. And her brother's friend was Puerto Rican. But the authorities had told Larry that only his immediate family was allowed to cross the bridge. So Larry said, "This is my immediate family."
I was his daughter. My friend's mom was his sister-in-law with her 3 kids, and my friend's brother's friend was his foster child. And that's how we had to play it off in order for us to cross the bridge all together.
Debbie Zelinsky and Lori Beth are now back home in San Francisco and Boston.